welcome to the Irresistible Marketing Pod, the podcast that tames any and every dragon standing in the way of you getting incredible marketing results, be it a strategic, tactical, and or emotional dragon. I'm your host, Isa Gauchi, your marketing confidence cheerleader and owner of the Isa Messaging digital marketing agency for personal brands and small business rebels who are working to make the world a better place through health, wellness, beauty, social justice, community care, and the creative arts. Today we're talking about avoiding avoidance, how entrepreneurs can break the avoidance cycle with their marketing. You know, we tend to have a pretty funny way of avoiding doing stuff that is important to us when the stakes feel too unbearably high. And oh boy, do I see a lot of people struggle with this when it comes to marketing their beloved business and the work or creations that come directly from their hearts. For example, in my squad membership for big-hearted black sheep rebel entrepreneurs, I offer weekly marketing prompts, challenges, reflections, and pitch practices. They look a little something like this. And this is a post in our private Facebook group for the squad. All right, y'all, it's time for our weekly pitch practice. This is an optional option to practice your sales messaging until it becomes a fun, easy muscle memory. If you're struggling with what to say in your marketing, on your sales calls, or when people ask what you do, this practice is for you. It is okay if you feel awkward. Most people feel awkward at first. In 3 to 5 sentences, pitch me one of your offers in the comments. Remember, let them know what it is, but please lead with why they want it. 2, it gets to be messy. Just showing up to pitch practice is a win. We heart bad pitches around here because practicing gives you the opportunity to get great. 3, please indicate whether you'd like feedback or just to be supported for showing up. Either is great. 4, if you're feeling stuck or running into a block, ask for help. That's what I'm here for. And inevitably, 1 or 2 members will privately reach out to tell me, I get so overwhelmed and intimidated by this exercise, but I know I need it. Overwhelmed and intimidated, even though they know they need the practice, even though messiness is explicitly invited, even though they can ask not to have any feedback and it is part of the group's core values to respect that. Even though it could take less than 5 minutes, maybe even less than 3 to do it. Even though they know getting more comfortable with explaining their offer will help them to sell more. Now, please don't get me wrong. I am not criticizing them because I get it. I've lowered the external stakes for this exercise as much as I possibly can, but they have not yet lowered the internal stakes. Yet. But this is the thing we wind up working deeply on in all of my marketing confidence cheerleading services, lowering the internal stakes for marketing and the reactions to our marketing that are possible and not within our control. I cannot overstate the importance of this work. It is the difference between staying with it till it works and quitting before it has a chance to. It's the difference between burnout and collapse in a business that feels fun and rewarding, no matter what is happening with your results at that time, because you know the results you want are just around the corner. They are inevitable. It's the difference between constantly looking for reasons to feel bad about yourself and your business and noticing all the indications that you're gaining momentum and success is so close. So, let's talk about why lowering the internal stakes for marketing is so important and what tends to happen when we don't do it. So, the thing that happens when our internal stakes for marketing being really high, too high, is we avoid it. We ghost, we don't show up, or we half-ass it somehow, or we only share a tiny part of ourselves and our magnificent voice and why we care in our marketing. But here's the thing, y'all. Avoidance takes effort, a lot of energy. Speaking from personal experience, avoidance is a major energy drain because it takes so much effort to keep steering yourself away and thus inevitably keep focusing on the thing you're staying away from so as to stay away from it. Now, sometimes avoidance can be healthy, don't get me wrong. When you need to tend to yourself and build the capacity to face whatever it is that you've been avoiding, okay, avoidance is fine. Or when you don't actually value the thing, so it's not worth your energy of facing it, and avoiding it is less energy expended than it would ultimately take to face it, okay, you can make that decision. But needing to do the thing, but not being able to force yourself to, that feels really crappy. And then you have to pour energy into trying not to feel crappy. And while you're busy doing that, not only are you not doing the thing weighing on you, but you're also too busy running away to tend to your health, your well-being, and your healthy joy. This is actually a cycle a lot of people experience when marketing their offer, though they may or may not be aware of it yet. But what if you could interrupt that pattern? What if you found ways to comfort and nurture yourself so effectively that avoidance was no longer required as a protective mechanism? Now, I get it, this might sound trite and hint alarmingly at toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, and maybe she manifested it, or maybe it's just white privilege sort of BS. So, let's be real. It can be really challenging reconnecting with yourself enough to understand your needs and then prioritize getting them met. Because for people who struggle with this, with being able to comfort and nurture themselves so effectively, avoidance is no longer necessary as a protective mechanism. When people struggle with this, getting to the point where you no longer need avoidance to protect yourself tends to require some major changes, especially the shifting of some deep-rooted beliefs that no longer serve, and then putting in the practice to adopt new, more helpful beliefs. For instance, you might be if you're someone who really struggles with avoidance in marketing or avoidance for anything you really need to do with your business, you might deeply hold the following belief. I am only allowed to self-care when I've achieved enough, have X amount of clients, have made X amount of money, etc. And there's going to be some work and repetition and practice required for you to shift into the belief that I work smarter when I'm rested and resourced. So resting and resourcing myself is actually the best thing I can do for my business. Another belief a lot of people who struggle habitually with avoidance for their marketing or business struggle with is the deeply held belief that I cannot handle discomfort. Now, it's really helpful if we can shift this belief into something like, sometimes I actually seek out healthy discomfort in order to grow. Another belief that really keeps a lot of us stuck in avoidance is that uncertainty is terrifying and must be avoided at all costs. Whereas I help my clients work with their thoughts and their thought habits to practice a new belief that is more caring and healthy and nurturing. Like, I trust myself completely, which allows me to feel safe even in times of uncertainty. I also work with my clients who really struggle with avoidance being a habit, who we often find tend to wrestle with this deeply held belief. I cannot handle the pain of rejection. And so we avoid marketing so we never have to face the possibility of being rejected. But when I work with these folks, we start practicing new thoughts so we can start believing something like this instead. Rejection is a natural part of life that has no bearing on my self-worth. Plus, I always learn a lot from rejection. So rejection can actually be a valuable experience. Another painful, deeply held belief a lot of my clients who struggle with avoidance wrestle with is something like this. I better just settle for that, the best that's being offered right now. And the way we have to shift this goes through lots of layers. We really have to work on allowing ourselves to become clear on what we want. So getting the clarity, so one, that we're allowed to want at all, and then getting clear on what it is that we want, and then building faith that we will get it, and being willing then to say no to crumbs so that we can enjoy the cake, which is what we really want when it gets here. So we're willing to delay gratification for some of what we want, but not all of it, and hold out because we believe we deserve and we can get what we actually want. So, to drive this home, our beliefs tend to play a big role in how we approach our marketing. So if we hold deeply, our default thoughts are these initial beliefs we talked about just now. I can't handle rejection. I can't handle discomfort. This is the best I'm going to be offered. That reality is painful. The stakes for marketing are really high. If I can't handle rejection and then I show up in my marketing, I could be rejected, right? So of course we're going to avoid it. Or if we pour a ton of effort into marketing and we may only get back like a small fraction of what we wanted, and we'll have to settle for it and just decide that's all we get to have. Like, that's such a big risk. Of course we'd avoid our marketing. The internal stakes for it are too high when we hold these beliefs that are so painful. So this is why we work so deeply in my marketing confidence cheerleading offers, so Season of Support, my one-on-one program, and the Squad, which is my membership, on figuring out what are the beliefs that are driving these actions that prevent us, A, from showing up in our marketing, B, from showing up effectively, and C, from being able to interpret the results in a way that gives us useful information rather than reaffirms our worst fears and doubts about ourselves and our business. Because when you make these belief upgrades, the internal stakes for doing something like marketing get a whole lot lower. Because your marketing could fail and you'd still love yourself. A campaign could fail and you'd smoothly pivot to a new idea. Sales might take a while to warm up and you'd be able to stay calm and confident long enough for your efforts to actually work. So see, avoidance isn't needed to protect you from big, scary consequences anymore when you work on your default beliefs. So if the ones you have right now are holding you back, they're making the stakes for marketing way too high, you get to change them by practice and repetition of new thoughts until they become your new go-to default belief, the easiest thing for your brain to reach for in this situation. And when you've done this work, you've done this practice, you've done this repetition, and before that, knowing what you need to practice new beliefs for, you've identified the beliefs that are making the stakes for marketing too high, that are holding you back from showing up effectively in your business, which you probably got some help to help you see what you're not seeing about your own internal landscape and your own internal filter through how you're approaching your business. You probably got some support or needed to get some support. If you're struggling to see where you are holding yourself back, then you were able to open your mind to shifting those beliefs, probably got some support and inspiration for thoughts you could think instead. When you've done that work, when you've invested in yourself, the time, the money, the energy, the investment in mentorship, when you've made that choice to make this shift, you don't have to keep wasting energy running away from big, scary consequences that you've already unpacked and processed into cute little Muppets. And with that energy, you can just do the damn thing. You can just show up in your marketing. You can just sell your offer. You can just grow your business. You can just build meaningful, lasting relationships with clients. You can build your following. You can grow your notoriety. You can grow your profits because you are able to show up and show up consistently without making it mean something horribly cruel and painful about yourself. So like I mentioned, support is really going to fast track this process for you, because it is so much easier to make these shifts with skilled, aligned support. Because you might not be aware of how you're making the internal stakes for marketing your business too high without someone to help you see what you're not seeing. And if you haven't been able to force yourself to do it on your own yet, support is probably that missing ingredient to help hold yourself lovingly accountable. Also, identifying these we're making the internal stakes for marketing too high beliefs can be uncomfortable. It can be painful. Like often when we're identifying these beliefs, we figure out how they got installed in the first place, which can, lead us to examining some uncomfortable memories, some uncomfortable relationships, some ways in which life did us dirty back in the day or did us dirty for a long time, which can be very uncomfortable. So you may be more inclined to avoid doing this important work without someone to hold you lovingly accountable and sit with you and help you process when it's hard. Also, the rewards for making these shifts are higher when you have support, when you have a community, since you will have someone who is watching for your progress and pointing it out to you when it's shifting too slowly for you to notice it yourself, or you're inclined to be really hard on yourself and look for where you're falling short rather than where you're making huge leaps and bounds. So it really helps to have skilled support to help you point out and notice and celebrate for yourself all the progress you're making. And then a skilled mentor can also help you identify and prioritize the conditions that you need to feel safe enough to do the work that you've been avoiding. For example, maybe you need to write that sales page in a coffee shop where you can borrow other cafe goers' calm. And perhaps you need to block off coffee shop days to prep for each launch. We can totally plan for this, right? When we figure out what it is that we need to bring us into, when we figure out what is likely to get us in our heads and revert back to these harmful beliefs and really hold us back from showing up or showing up effectively in marketing, then we get to start understanding and identifying, well, what would make me feel safe? What would make me feel calm? What would make it so I was able to focus on this without getting distracted by the brain weasels, right? Then we get to plan ahead for it. We get to structure it into our workflow, into our launch process, into our marketing, content creation time. We get to structure it into the way we approach our business, what it is we need to feel safe, to feel right, to feel focused, to feel creative, to feel expansive, to feel lit up. For example, if doing your books, looking at your finances, working on price setting really gets you in that stressed out energy and that spiraling energy, maybe we go to dance class first. we go to something that will bring the body into a state of that happy exercise endorphins. You feel stretched out, relaxed, in control, powerful, capable, confident, and then we look at your books. So we are not just at the mercy of our minds when it comes to the things that make us anxious and stressed out about our business and our prospects and marketing. We get to meet those dragons and not defeat them in this machismo sense, in this way where we'll just conquer them and never have to deal with a trigger ever again. But we can meet them with love and compassion. We can find ways to comfort the parts of us that are scared, that are afraid of being rejected, of being betrayed, of being abandoned. And we can find ways to bring comfort to ourselves and to think differently so we don't have to stay stuck in this cycle where we're running from the painful things that get brought up when we take the risk of making the offer to people, putting it out there for the world and leaving it up to them to say yes or no. So if this is something you struggle with, you've recognized some of these limiting beliefs we talked about in yourself, you've recognized that it's your habit to want this launch to go so smoothly, to want your offer to sell so well, and then something happens when you have to go tell people about the offer, when you have to tell them about it more than once, when you have to keep talking about it for a sustained period of time, which is typically what we need to do if we want to sell the darn thing, right? Something happens that prevents you from doing that, or prevents you from doing that in a way that really lets you show up with the amount of emotional availability and vulnerability that is necessary to connect with your audience, with your people, to build this kind of trust and magnetic desire to do this work together, to demonstrate your availability to be there, to help, to be available to help the people you're wanting to help, not just need them to buy it for you to feel validated. If this sounds familiar to you, I want you to know you're not alone. So many of my favorite people, the people whose work we most need in the world, my favorite big-hearted black sheep rebel entrepreneurs, a lot of us struggle with this. A lot of us have these past traumas, these histories, these marginalized identities where we were so punished and discouraged from being connected with what it is that we need, asking for what we need, showing up unmasked as our full authentic selves. We've been so deconditioned from this way of being in the world, from this way of thinking. And so if you're struggling with this, of course you are. Of course you are. Not to mention that this is deep personal development work in addition to being really important work for your marketing and your business and your confidence. And a lot of people aren't willing to do this work. They're not aware of the need for it. They're not aware of how it will help their lives or help their business. Or maybe they've started on the journey and found it really uncomfortable and pieced out and reverted back just to mainstream conceptions of the way it is out there. And so you trying to do this work on your own is infinitely harder because you don't have people to talk with about it who are going to get it, who are going to cheer you on, who are going to encourage you, who are going to open your mind and inspire you with ways that are going to push your growth rather than question you, feed into your doubts, make you doubt yourself, or make you keep having to go back to the beginning and explain it. So I want you to allow it to be a priority, for you to find the people, the spaces, the community, the mentorship that is really going to help you take these growth steps in a really loving, supportive, inspiring container that is just going to accelerate your growth so quickly. Because people are doing it with you, people are cheering you on, people are noticing your progress, people are inspiring you with their own work in this area, and just keeping it moving forward, feeding into the hope, into the dream, into the vision, into the medicine, our belief and our care in what we have to offer the world, and our belief in our care in people for what it will mean for them when they have access to our work. So, long way to say, I have a new aspect of my offerings. I'm offering it for all of my cheer clients, so my one-on-one clients and my squad members. And this offering is called my Avoidance group. And right now I'm offering it roughly twice a month. And it's this beautiful 90-minute group session over Zoom where we first bring our bodies into a state of powerful focus. And then we work on the projects that we know we need to do, but we keep avoiding because it's just bringing up too much shit. And we've been getting squirrely brained when it comes to sitting down and focusing on it. So we bring these projects, we bring our bodies on board, we get our spaces ready for our focus, and then we work together, we borrow each other's calm, we hold ourselves accountable, and we celebrate our progress as we face the stuff we know we need to do for our business, but just haven't been able to force ourselves to do on our own. And look, I've held a few of these so far, and I cannot believe how much people are getting done together in this really creative, inspiring, courageous, loving environment. So the squad has already written an entire sales page in a single Business Lab session. In another business lab session, we came up with our entire 2025 launch plan for the whole year. I just held our first specifically focused avoidance group, and people got so much done. Like, I did this whole shadow work journal prompt series I've been avoiding for literal months. Someone else figured out their whole terms and conditions. Another person got their content planning for a launch done. Someone else decided to write in a late fee policy and enforce it. Like, we got shit done we've been putting off for months, and I'm so proud of everyone. And this group went over so well. It's just going to be a regular thing. We're going to hold it all the time, so that if you are a cheer client with me, if you're a one-on-one client, or you are in the squad membership, there is no way, if you show up, all you have to do is show up, and there is no way you will not grow. There is no way your marketing won't get better. There is no way your business won't improve, because you are going to get so much done. And in facing the stuff you've been avoiding, that's been getting in your mind drama, that is how you build the confidence. You don't have to be confident to face it, but boy, when you do face it, will that be adding to your confidence or what? We build the confidence by facing the stuff we're afraid of, by pushing ourselves to our growth edge, by believing in ourselves enough to take the risk to try. That is how the confidence comes. We don't just have to make it and then do the thing. We do the thing and then we get the confidence. That's how it usually tends to work. So, you are totally invited. You're totally invited to the avoidance groups. You're totally invited to work with me as your marketing confidence cheerleader. But do be aware, to access this magic, you will have to either be a one-on-one client via my season of support, which is 12 one-on-one sessions with me and all sorts of perks, or you'll have to join the squad, which you get complimentary membership to if you're a one-on-one season of support client. And the squad, again, is my membership for big-hearted, black sheep, rebel entrepreneurs. And it's so good. Also, if you're listening to this before Valentine's Day, February 14th, I am offering something super secret at a major discount, but only to my email and social subscribers. So do make sure you're signed up and following me. If you haven't already, just check the show notes and you'll find all my links there. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Do make sure you're subscribed to this podcast too, and share this episode with a business baddie who needs to hear it. Okay, love you, bye.